Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my most requested video of all time. If you know me in real life, you've probably requested me to make this video, and there's a reason why I haven't done it. This is something that I didn't experience until I was older. It was just like really hard to figure out and deal with, and now that I've had a lot of experience with it, I feel it is now an appropriate time to share it with you guys. I did kind of try to write out an agenda for this video because there's just so much to talk about, but if you have any questions that I don't answer in this video, please feel free to comment down below. I'm an open book and I will answer any and all questions that you have about this diet. A lot of you are probably watching this video because you're looking for support or community in this, because I know that's what I did when I first had issues. I just want to let you know that you're not alone. People exist. I'm a real person and I know exactly what you're going through. Comment down below if you have this allergy. I know it's so rare and so confusing and it's just a lot. Anyways, I hope this video helps a lot of you and I am so happy to do it. So the first thing I wanted to do is give y'all a general disclaimer. I am a 22-year-old college student. I am a health major. I graduate in December, but I am not a doctor. I cannot diagnose anything for you, and my level of expertise is based on my life experiences and my basic general knowledge of health. So please, if you have any questions or you're really concerned about your survival, please see a doctor. Do not ask me those questions. I cannot help you there. I can only help you with things that I've personally experienced, and I'm just sharing that with y'all. And then another disclaimer I want to give is, if you are looking for a lose weight kind of diet or you're prone to disordered eating, this video is not for you. This is a diet that you will have to do for the rest of your life, and doing this diet is not healthy if you don't need to do it. So please do not watch this video. Do not try to do this as a weight loss tactic. It is not the diet to do. Basically, this is the story of how I found out that I have this nightshade allergy. So I was 19 years old and I was a college freshman, and it was actually around September 2017. So I had just moved to college and I was having severe eczema flare-ups. And I've had eczema flare-ups all my life since I was born, but these were extreme, and I'll put some pictures in this video and stuff to help you guys get a better idea. But yeah, it was just very extreme. I could not sleep at night. I was constantly scratching. I was bleeding because I kept scratching. I would get very anxious. If I was in class, I would just start scratching my arm or my neck or whatever, and it would just start cracking and bleeding, and I would get itchier, and I kept going into this cycle of scratching and being itchy and scratching and being itchy, where it kind of gives you a panic feeling inside because you're just so itchy and you can't control anything. I've had to walk out of classrooms to get some fresh air because it's so hot. It was just very miserable experience. I live in Texas. I go to Texas A&M, and so it is not a very cold place to be. So also just the weather and the heat and the crowding in the classrooms was just so much. I was constantly itching and I was miserable, and I also would get little bruises on my neck and on my arms, and people would make jokes about me having hickeys, and I just felt I couldn't live like that. And I would go to work and people would be looking at my neck, and I just could not stand it. It was just too much for me. And so I was okay, I really got to find out what the heck is going on. And so I went to the doctor that month, and the doctor was a little bit rude. I'm not gonna lie. He kind of brushed me off. He was oh, there's no cure to that right now, so you're just gonna need to take some Claritin. It must be seasonal allergies. And I was you know, I've been taking Claritin, I've been taking Zyrtec, I've been taking Benadryl. This is not working. I need something more legit. So he gave me a steroid cream and told me it's probably stress and hormone related. So he gave me steroid creams. He told me to consider taking birth control pills and all of these things. And I tried all these things that he asked me to do, but it didn't change. The steroid creams would make it go away for a second, but then it would flare right back up the next day. So it really didn't do much for me. So I was doing that for about, I want to say 3 months. And then December came. It was extra cold. The allergies were at an all-time high. I was flaring up miserably, and I decided to go to another doctor again, and this doctor wanted to do a telehealth visit with me. So I basically ranted to him. I showed him everything on my telehealth screen, and he gave me another steroid cream that was much stronger, but he also sent me an email after the appointment and said that I really need to find a better doctor And he was a dermatologist. He's great. But being told by a dermatologist that he does not know enough to be able to help me was really concerning to me, because I felt a little hopeless, like there was no cure for me, that I wasn't going to get better, because just hearing that from someone who's specialized in that field is just like hard to hear. I'm really thankful that he said that he doesn't know enough. I think that there's a lot of problems when people pretend to know things that they don't know, so I'm very thankful for him that he did say he didn't know enough to help me. It was just a little scary for me to hear inside. So I basically started using his steroid treatments, and they did a little bit more for me. They were a little safer to use like on my face and neck than the like thicker steroid creams were. They were supposed to be more of a like top level type cream, but it still didn't really go away. So over spring break, I woke up for work one day and my eyes were like swollen shut, and I could barely open them because there was so much eczema on my eyelids that they could just barely open. I could barely see, and I went to work, and I worked for 5 hours that day, and I looked horrible. I looked miserable. I was miserable, and I immediately went to the doctor right after my shift. And the doctor was like, this is so bad, this is so out of hand, we're just gonna give you some like steroid injections, and it's just gonna completely get rid of it. And once it's gone, you can use the steroids and it won't come back. And so I was like, okay, sounds great. So he gave me steroid shots on my hip, and then I went home, and this is where it gets kind of funny. So one of my friends was in town with her mom, and she knows that I love tomato soup, and she knew that I had a rough day, so she brought me some tomato soup, which was so sweet. I'm so thankful. Like, I love when people just go out of their way to take care of you. It was so sweet of her. But basically, she brought me this tomato soup, and I flared up like no one's business. Like, my body, like my lips, my tongue, my face, everything was just completely swollen. And I was like, oh, this must be a weird side effect of my steroid shot, and I didn't think anything of it. And so a week later, I was still not getting better, and I was still swollen. I had bruises all over my neck. I looked like I had crazy hickeys everywhere, and it was just not a good look professionally when I was at work, and just in life socially, people were like, what the heck? So, and I couldn't really put makeup on it because makeup would make it itchier, and then I'd scratch the makeup off. And yeah, I went to the doctor again, and they started giving me, I think it was weekly or every other week, I don't remember. They kept giving me steroid injections, and this went on for about a month. I would just go, they'd give me a steroid injection, and I would go home. And the crazy thing is, I don't know who said that that would be a good idea, because that's like a lot of steroids to be putting into a like 125-pound girl. I was just getting steroid after steroid after steroid, and I was starting to feel the effects of having too many steroids, of course, because literally what was happening. So I started to decide for myself. I did not ask for a doctor's advice when I did this. I decided I was going to do an elimination diet. So I stopped eating foods like ramen and things like that that college students eat that come with a lot of processed items and ingredients that you don't even know what they mean. And I started to eat just more whole foods in general, things that I knew, at least that I knew the ingredients for. I would read the ingredients list, write them down, and then eat the food. So the very first day of the elimination diet, I decided to have some SpaghettiOs or tomato soup. So I made them. And I had work at like 4. This was like 3 o'clock. And I was like, I'm gonna have some tomato soup. It's gonna be great. So I made some, sat down at my desk, ate it, got ready for work. And about 45 minutes after eating it, I looked like a literal tomato. I was so itchy. I was gonna cry. Like, my eyes were swollen. Everything was horrible. And I was like, it's the tomato. There's no way it's not the tomato. I know it's the tomato. And so I pulled out my phone, as anyone does, and Googled tomato allergy. And let me show you what came up. Symptoms of a tomato allergy: skin rash, eczema or hives, abdominal cramps, nausea, vomiting or diarrhea, an itching sensation in the throat, coughing, sneezing, wheezing, or running nose. So out of these symptoms, I had the skin rash, I had eczema, I did have hives, I had cramps, I had nausea. I did not have vomiting or diarrhea, so thank God, but I did have itching in my tongue. It says throat on here. My tongue was super itchy. I remember like going like that. Oh, that was so gross, but I would literally sit there like that. And then I would get the running nose too. I was like, okay, that's it, it's tomatoes. I cried. I was like, now I can't have ketchup, now I can't have pizza, now I can't have Doritos. I was like, this sucks, my life sucks, crying over this tomato allergy. So I cut out the tomatoes and it sucked. I was so upset. Like I was quite depressed about this. I love tomato soup. It was my favorite comfort food. I just love pizza. I love just like Italian food. I was depressed, y'all. And I waited about 8 months and my skin looked so much better. Did end up going back to the doctor and letting him know about the tomatoes, and he said that that's very, very common. He did tell me that there's no such thing as the tomato allergy and it's a tomato intolerance, but that like they use the terms interchangeably, but by definition the term tomato intolerance is more correct because it's actually just that your body can't handle the amount of histamine being released. So I was taking Claritin for breakfast, Zyrtec for lunch, and Benadryl for dinner every day throughout this whole process, and the tomatoes were basically giving me the histamine back that the medicine was supposed to get rid of. Technically a tomato intolerance, but I'm using the term allergy because it's searchable, y'all know what it means, but just I want to correct myself definition wise. It's technically an intolerance. For about 8 months I was doing so much better, and it sucked. I was sad. I was still getting used to it, but I was feeling so much better and I got part of my life back, which was really awesome. And then around the colder months, so around the fall, October, November, December of that year, I started to get the flare-ups back, and I was like, oh my gosh, what can this be? It has to be seasonal. So I went back to the doctor again, and I was going probably every 3 months, like regularly anyways, because they did want to like monitor all these changes I was doing. So I went back to the doctor and he told me to find another doctor. So I did. I found another doctor and I went to his clinic in December, and I basically told him everything that was going on. I like spilled my guts to him. He was such a sweet guy. I was like, yo, I've tried taking Claritin, Zyrtec, and Benadryl every day for over a year, which I was still doing every single day, and I still sometimes do right now. I told him that I had been told that it was stress related, but even when I wasn't in school, even when I was on vacation, even when I was having fun with my friends, I was still flaring up, so I didn't think it was stress related. I've been told it was hormone related, but there really wasn't a specific time of the month that my flare-ups were worse than other times. It really felt pretty consistent, so I wasn't completely sure that it was hormonally related. I was doing on and off birth controls because they wanted to like see if I had like flat hormones, if it would do anything. It didn't do anything, so I just stopped taking those. Basically nothing was completely working except for eliminating the tomatoes, and he was like, you should try taking out nightshades. And that was something that I had heard about. My mom had brought it up at one point. Some family friends had mentioned it when I told them about the tomato thing. I had never heard of a nightshade before. I did not know what it was, but I was vaguely familiar with it when I went to this doctor. I just did not want to ever do it, and I never wanted to consider fully actually going nightshade free, so I just never really thought about it. But then when I was in the doctor's office, it felt more real and more serious when he said it wouldn't hurt to try. So he went ahead and had me go nightshade free, and he prescribed me Dupixent injections, and I will show you those right now. So this is a Dupixent injection. It looks like this. It has a little cap in the front that you just pull off and inject it into yourself, and you do it by yourself. It's really not too hard. I have a few videos on it. You can check those out on my channel. I'm also going to be posting an additional video about this on Friday. So if you're watching this today or tomorrow, it's not up yet, but on Friday I will be posting a video where I inject this into my stomach so you guys can get a better tutorial. It is a subcutaneous injection that I started doing in my thighs. So I posted a video last September where I did it in my thigh, and that was a very common spot for most people to do it. Then I felt like trying to change it up because I was getting a lot of bruising on my legs, so I started doing it in my stomach, which you can see me do that in my 1-year Dupixent update video, and that was a game changer. So now I always do it in my stomach. Go ahead and check those videos out if you want more information on this drug. I've been taking that for almost 2 years now, and I have been nightshade free also for that time. And basically my whole world changed for the best. So the injections were very difficult for me to get through insurance and everything because they were still brand new on the market. I know it is a lot more accessible now, so if you're interested, you should hopefully be able to get a hold of it. I don't know what country you live in, what type of health insurance you do or don't have, but it is a lot more accessible now than it used to be. I started taking those injections, but it took a few months for me to start. So basically, I wasn't consistently taking those till about April of 2019. And I started the diet in December. So the diet completely changed my life. I was feeling so much better. It sucked. I cried more because I love potatoes. Potatoes were also one of my comfort foods when I had to give up tomatoes. And it was just a really hard transition. If you've never heard of a nightshade, nightshades are tomatoes, potatoes, all types of pepper except for black. So no bell peppers, no chili peppers, none of that. No eggplant, no goji berries, no paprika, which is very difficult. It is used in a lot of coloring. So if you are trying a nightshade free diet, make sure you're checking anything that's orange. You should be reading the ingredients on. Really anything though in general. I found paprika in some like mayonnaise. I found it in ranch dressings. I found it in Caesar dressings. I have found it in a lot of things. So make sure you're just reading ingredients consistently if you're trying this. There are a few items that have really saved my life while doing this diet. One of them is just getting like steak of meat, like plain meat. There's nothing on it, nothing that's already put in it at least. And then I'll just cook it and put like garlic salt on it. Or there's also AIP powders, which is autoimmune paleo or autoimmune protocol powders. Sweet potatoes are not a nightshade. If you didn't know that, sweet potatoes are great. You can use them instead of using normal potato french fries. You can have sweet potato french fries. I'm not a big fan of eating like baked sweet potatoes. That's not my thing, but if that's your thing, you can do that. Literally anything that you would have had with a potato, you can now do with a sweet potato. Explore that. I was never a huge fan of sweet potatoes myself. Make sure you're not getting sweet potato fries though, like frozen from a store, because a lot of those have paprika. So make sure that you are like either making your own or you know exactly what's going into it. I had to replace all of my pizzas and pastas with pesto instead of marinara, which honestly I was a little upset about at first, but now like whenever I think of pizza, I just think of my pizza that has pesto. You can also do it with an Alfredo sauce if you read those ingredients or make it yourself. But pesto has really changed my life. I love pesto. I also put bacon on my pizza instead of pepperoni. So if that's something you want to try, I love doing just like a normal pizza with pesto on it, mozzarella cheese, and bacon. Another thing you want to be careful about is cheeses. If you're doing a pre-shredded cheese, it may contain potato starch because that is an anti-caking agent. It's what keeps it from getting stuck back together. So you either want to shred your own cheese and read those ingredients, or just make sure that potato starch is not used as the anti-caking mechanism. But for the most part, I just shred my own cheese, keep it safe, and it's also cheaper and better for you. Another substitute that I like to do is spinach. I love putting spinach on my pizza. I was never really a huge spinach fan, but now I put spinach on literally everything. So spinach is a big win for the nightshade free diet. And then another thing I want to point out about spinach, if you know anything about nutrition, a lot of the foods that are on this list, on this nightshades list, are foods that have magnesium in them. And for me personally, I am allergic to bananas and kiwis and avocados, so I cannot have those. I was never able to have those throughout my whole life, and those are also foods that release a lot of histamine in your body, same with all of the nightshades, so that is the reason why I can't have them. Another thing is strawberries, and strawberries also give me problems. I can have them in very small doses, but I usually just don't eat them at all because I try to keep my body as happy and healthy as I can, and I know that my body does not love having strawberries. So essentially, this entire diagnosis is a histamine intolerance. And something to note about that is that a lot of the foods that are on this list also help with your magnesium counts. And I have never, ever had a correct potassium magnesium count on any of my blood work at all in my life, especially on this diet. So one thing that has really helped is adding things like spinach to my food. There's a lot of things that you can add that have magnesium. I don't know every food item in the world. I'm not completely nutritionally educated in that way, but just be aware of like what your body is going through when you're making this change, and note that you might have a magnesium problem, because that's something that I experienced. And it's okay to have low magnesium. A lot of people don't. That's very common to be low on, but just make sure you're not getting too low, because there have been times in my life where my doctor told me that my magnesium count is too low, and that is when you start getting cramps and just it doesn't feel good. And the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is the emotional adjustment, because I feel like that's something that's not talked about a lot. I know there's so many videos on the internet where people are trying these diets where they're completely changing their lives, and they make it look so easy and so healthy and so, like, I don't know, like health is their life, and that's not me. I love my sweets. I love desserts, which is great because I can still have those even being nightshade free for the most part. But yeah, that's just not my life, and that's not reality for a lot of people. So if this is something that you're really emotional about, you're not alone, because it was also really hard for me. Something that's really helped me from a Christian standpoint is just taking care of this body and knowing that we are not perfect here on this earth. We are not made to be perfect here on this earth, but we are going to be perfect one day in heaven. And this is just one of those reminders that, like, this life is not meant to be perfect and will never be perfect. So that is my way of coping with it as a Christian. I know not everyone watching this video is Christian, but another thing to do is just take care of your body. You're loved and people love you, and you should love yourself just as much by giving yourself this gift of this sacrifice, really. Also, if you've ever been like gaslit by a doctor over it, I completely understand. I've been in that boat too. It's very hard to be a young woman, especially going to the doctor's office when sometimes they're kind of rude or they invalidate your experiences. So I am just gonna go ahead and let y'all know that I want to validate your experience, and your experience is valid, and I'm really sorry if someone has treated you incorrectly, but keep finding help until you find someone who is educated and actually cares for you. I hope that this video helped somebody. I know it was kind of just like a sit down story time video, so if you have any questions, please comment them down below. I will answer literally every single question. Please leave some purple heart emojis if you made it this far in the video. I want to know who's watched this whole video. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel down below. Even if you don't watch YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to my channel anyways, because it helps me, it supports me, and it's free. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!